So Molly, for the big story, of course, the first year you asked about whole genome and exome. Of course, the first year you might say kind of somewhat experimental to gauge where you're going. The field is moving fast. That's the other thing. That's another element of variability. And one of the things we have to sort out is the interface between. We can produce lots of whole genomes, but it then has to go to a clinical team for interpretation. And what's the capability and what is the requirement of the capability of the clinical team? So St. Justine, we're very fortunate because they have the whole clinical team, ethicists, clinical counselors, all of that, and they are within the Department of Health guidelines. And so from that, we'll extrapolate that interface. We'll learn by doing. What is that interface and what's the speed, as Jacques has mentioned, when does whole genome kick in and for which indication. So this is not going to be a consumer access platform. You know, I'm on the street and I'd like to have somebody do my sequence, please. It's clinical. We were a public agency, public good agency if you want, and St. Justine's a public hospital, and there will be a filter, as there is for specialized medical services, as to when and how to provide these services. So that there's going to be some experimentation, and certainly in the first year, or probably into the second year, as we kind of understand all of these, the interplay of all these dynamics. So to Molly, on that one, to go back to the example of the Guild platform, the science platform, we're not a profit-making agency, but our job is to not lose too much money as we provide the services. So we have quite sophisticated models now to analyze costs. So the more we do, the lower the cost per unit. Usually, the better the performance. And as we go along over time, we will have. That's one of the things that'll come out from this first year. We'll have a better 1 year out. We'll have a much better understanding of costing, real costs, and we have from that operating experience, we'll be able to bring that in. I think our job is to basically cover our non-subsidized costs. We may get help with equipment and so on and so forth. So if we're only offsetting our incremental costs, that'll be one thing. But if we don't get help with equipment from the normal research funding, then the cost would be greater. But as Jacques has said, in general, our experience has been that our costing is lower. I mean, it's not the objective, but it's just the way that the thing is set up. The one thing that's a bit I was going to say the add-on, the one thing we still have to factor in our cost model, which we on the clinical side, which is not totally clear as we speak, is the insurance costs, since you're in the clinical.
Right.
And so that part, depending how big that item is, and then that's very different in Canada, of course, as what it is in the United States, a requirement, but we haven't got that one quite pinned down yet.
I wanted to ask about that. How is this going to be covered for patients?
So in Quebec, it's a public healthcare system, it's a universal healthcare system. So patients don't pay for the services they would be an opportunity to try to define what would be the indication for those legs. Right now, there's no we're starting to have an idea what what are the indications that are associated resulting in a higher yield, dynastic yield, but it's still some work to be done to really have a better sense of what would really result in a higher yield, dynastic yield. So the idea would be to, if it were to take advantage of the integrated healthcare system, to try to reach to define more indications, clinical indications that would result in higher dynastic yield.
Right.
But it's going to be free for the patient. So if a doctor thinks that consider that this patient would benefit from the exome, and if our guidelines